This is a map of Africa from the 1700s, and you can see what it's called down here, Negro Land. Okay, because what happened was the Israelites would escaped into Africa, the African continent, but the Africans didn't want them there amongst themselves, because I guess they still remembered the plagues and the Exodus. So the Israelites basically went across the top of the Sahara, which you'll notice is called the Kingdom of Sara, okay, which is the second son of Judah, by the way. So they went across the Sahara Desert and down into the wilderness, which is where nobody was living, of West and South Africa. So here's a bit more detail here. So this bit here is called the Grain Coast. It's where the Europeans came in to get their grain. Here's the Tooth Coast. It's where they came in to get their ivory. There's the Gold Coast. No explanation there. And here is the Slave Coast. And where it says there, Kingdom of Judah. So they're the sons of Judah actually ended up there. Here next to it is what's called Benin. I can't see it, but the Kingdom of Benin is here. Now the people who lived in Jerusalem, that side of the part of Jerusalem that got attacked by the Romans, were the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, or Benjamin. So here you have the Judeans and the Benjamites. And right now, the Jews are still there. The ones that weren't taken into slavery are actually still there. These there are a couple of, quite a load of tribes out there. The Lemba, these guys are from the Lemba, have been acknowledged now as people of that area, the Judea. There's another tribe of interest called the Igbo, or the Ibo, which we'll come back to later. So when the Europeans came to get slaves, not a single African went into slavery. What happened was the slavers came for the Judeans, the Negroes, and it was the Africans who actually sold them into slavery. It was the Arabs and the Africans who sold them into slavery. Right? They didn't sell themselves into slavery. It was the Africans were selling the outsiders, the ones who came in and were actually prospering in the wilderness of their land. So that dispels that myth that Africans were selling each other into slavery. Again, it's not about skin colour, it's about nation, it's about bloodline. So this is commonly seen as the African slave trade, but there was more, much more to this story. Because the Aboriginal Americans were the same people. They were already there in America, and they were black people. They were not the pale-skinned Indians that you're kind of used to. These were the same people that were over in Africa and also in Europe. We'll get to that in a minute. But what happened was we had black people as the Aboriginal Americans, but there were also some Chinese Mongols who went across the Bering Strait and were inhabiting the northwest of America. And it was those people who actually were given all the reservations. All these people were reclassified as black people, as Negroes, as slaves. The Aboriginal Americans were reclassified as black, Negro, and slaves. And the Native Americans were the Chinese Mongols, who mixed also with white people who came over, because there was a thing called the Dawes Rolls, which meant they were classifying who was who, and anybody could come along, any white European could come along and pay $5 to be included as an Indian. So this is one of the journeys of the people from the what's known as the Holy Land, from Israel right now. These are the people called the Iba. Again, very similar to the Ibo and the Igbo tribes in Africa, because Iba comes from the patriarch Eba, who was where the name Hebrew comes from. Okay, so the Iba travelled across southern Europe and ended up in a place they named after themselves, the Iberian Peninsula. And when they were chased out of that area by the barbarians, they founded another country called Hibernia. Again, they named it after themselves. Hibernia means land of the Hebrews. And some of them went on to colonise another country, Scotland. And the only name that survives is Hebrides. Okay. So the Irish were originally black people, and this is an illustration from a magazine, Harper's Weekly, from the 1800s, and it actually tells you in there, if I'd left the whole thing, it says, the Iberians were believed to originally be an African race, okay? And you can see how the Irish Iberians started off like this, mixed with these, and became, this was kind of a sort of midway transitional stage. But if you look at the Iberian writing of the time, it's almost exactly the same as the Paleo-Hebrew script, right? Saying that these guys came from Jerusalem, basically.